The Florida Gators play football tomorrow, and we're going to talk about the game. But first, we're going to be joined by Charlotte head coach, Coach Biff Poggi, here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy Friday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business, and that's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply, but joining me now is going to be Charlotte head coach Biff Poggi. Joining me now for Locked On Gators is Charlotte 49ers head coach, Coach Biff Poggi. And Coach, after last week's game against Georgia State, you mentioned how Trexler Ivy makes better reads than Jalen Jones, but took some critical sacks. You also said that the offense is much more dynamic with Jalen Jones, though, and I know that ideally they both play a roughly even split of the snaps. But have you decided at this point in time who's going to be your QB1 heading into this game?
We actually haven't. We're going to decide after today's practice. But both of them have had really good really good weeks of practice. This past week, and I think our offensive coordinator Mike Miller's got a good plan for each of them, what they tend to do well, and how it fits together with the team. And both of those young guys have practiced, really hard and have practiced really well. What we might do is we might cut them right down the middle and put them together and play them that way. So,
are you going to pull up Kansas last year when they put them both on the field at the same time? We're in a little fake.
That's a good idea, but we haven't done any of that yet. But that's something to think about for sure.
I'm just saying. I'm taking credit if you ever do.
Yeah, great. I love it.
You can take credit for why I have the cut shirt now, and I will take credit for you running a 2-quarterback play there.
That's great.
Jalen Jones, one of the quarterbacks that we expect to see on Saturday. Obviously, he was in Gainesville for a semester during his freshman year. What's it been like to kind of prepare him for this game, just for his return back to Gainesville?
Well, he's an older player now. He's been around for a while, and he's in his early 20s. And if he was a younger player, I'd be very concerned about it. And look, I'm somewhat concerned about it now because he obviously loves Florida. I mean, he went to Florida. He could have gone a lot of places, and he went to Florida. And he feels very fondly about Florida. He's got he liked the guys he played with, the coaches he played for, and he loves the fans in Florida. So I think he's excited to go back. He's probably nervous, and because since he's left Florida, he hasn't been on a stage like that before, since then. So, but I think he's looking forward to it in the right perspective. And, we understand what we're going into there. We're going into I think your head coach is a brilliant guy. He reminds me of a young Nick Saban, and Nick is an old dear friend of mine. And this fellow you got coaching, Coach Napier, is just he's really special. And then you look at your players. I mean, holy smokes! I mean, I looked at the film. I was like, wow, who scheduled this game? But I mean, and look, you guys were an SEC team last year, and I think you got my opinion. I think you guys got a lot better in the portal, and some of your young recruits are now starting to play. And I mean, this is a really, really, really loaded Florida team, and it's a really good team, and I think a team that's going to go really, really deep into college football. And and then you got your fans, your stadium, and your fans are ravenous, and they're and it's a tough place to visit and play. So we it's on the schedule. We got to come, so we're coming.
Yeah, you can have a conversation with Mike Hill about that one, but that's all him. I do appreciate that you got the cigar out too. You're just very on brand for this, and I love it. And I mean, this past weekend, you mentioned also that you were unhappy with some of the decisions made. You thought that the defense was trying to be too clever at certain points in the game. The offense moved away from what you want them to be, where you said you want them to be downhill running, gap scheme, play action pass team. Are those things that you really can fix in 1 week? And trying to fix those, how does that even impact your preparation for a team specific game plan?
Honestly, I don't know if you can fix them in a week, and I'm just trying to be honest. And again, I mean, you know, Maryland was a good football team, um, but Florida, when I look at this film, this is a different animal completely, and I don't know if we could do the things we kind of want to do against that group.
Yeah.
The front seven is just, I mean, where are you going to see that? That's like crazy. And so I think, running the ball against them is going to be really hard, and then very athletic in the back. And then, the quarterback is playing out of his mind. He's like 80% completion rate. This young back, this kid, Etienne, I mean, he's just so special. And the offensive line's big and physical. I mean, the team is really, really good. And the kickers are good, The return game is good. I mean, it's like, again, I mean, it's got to be really fun to be a fan there and to coach them.
It is very fun, but it's also taken years off my life to just love this team. That's just being honest. There, it's taken years off the life here, but I think that the people watching this are going to love you more than they love me because you seem to be very high on this Florida team. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can just create a job post easily like that. Add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. With simple tools like screening questions, it makes it easier for you to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Love the convenience of getting what you want right to your door? I know I do. With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can stock up for the week or order last minute cravings conveniently. That's when I use it most of the time. I'm not gonna lie. We order quite a bit. And my favorite time to use DoorDash when I'm just a little bit hungover. It was a great night. Why not celebrate in the morning with a sub? That's my hangover food. I get a hero with breaded chicken cutlet, and I mix up whatever's on it. But that's always how we do it, and that's what I do, and I love it. I love it. I trust DoorDash. They're always there for me. They are. They're always there, no matter what. Rain, shine, snow, they're here for me. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout. That's a limited time offer. Terms do apply. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONCollege. Don't forget that's code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off of your first order with DoorDash. Even between your own program and this Florida Gators program, there are a lot of connections between Charlotte and Florida. Charlotte's athletic director, Mike Hill, he was at Florida from 1993 to 2018. Your defensive coordinator, Ryan Osborne, was a GA here under Dan Mullen. Wide receiver coach Mike Hartline never played for Florida, but he did play against Florida 3 times as a Kentucky Wildcat. Just what's that like to just have all of those parallels with this team in your first year with Charlotte? Like, you weren't here when they set this game up. You weren't a part of that. But then there ends up just coincidentally being all of these parallels.
Well, I don't know much about the coincidental things, but I know that if I was around when the schedule's being made, that I would have been on the other side of making that. I would have had a no vote on this one for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You've got a young coaching staff too. Just throughout the entire coaching staff, it's young. This is your first season as an FBS head coach. Mike Miller, first full season as just like lone offensive coordinator here after spending time at Maryland. Ryan Osborne's your defensive coordinator. Wayne Dorsey, Mike Hartline, Greer Martin. A bunch of your staff is incredibly young. How has this process been for all of you to kind of grow together through this first year in Charlotte?
Well, we do have a young staff, but they're very bright and they're very accomplished. They're young, but they've had a lot of experience in some top-notch programs. And you know, I'm not particularly young. I'm not young, and these young guys, I think, bring a lot of energy and a lot of great ideas. And as far as this being my first head coaching job, hey, look, I was a high school coach for 37 years, so it's all new for me too.
Yeah, you storied with St. Francis. I know you've got an HBO documentary about you. It's a very storied life here. You worked in finance a while back, and how has that kind of played a part in your just coaching approach today? Because I know that with modern day college football, there's NIL, and just throughout history, we've seen so many athletes that have gone through, I want to say, financial hardships. Have you kind of taken more of an off-field approach with some of these players to make sure that they're more financially literate, where we've seen that kind of go overlooked for a bit?
Our players actually are taking a financial literacy course that is taught in our building, and it's 13 weeks. It's taught by one of our business school professors. It is outstanding curriculum. Our kids, really like it, and so we're trying to pair that with internships in Charlotte, which has a tremendous amount of Fortune 500 and 1,000 companies here, to hire our guys in the summer for kind of C-suite, corporate suite jobs for internships where they get paid and they get a lot of great experience. They meet a lot of people. Ultimately, what we are concerned about is the next 50 years of their lives, that they find something they love more than they love football, because they're going to have to do that for the rest of their lives, and that they wind up being successful and being good, good husbands, good fathers, good sons, good members of the community. We call our philosophy ethic here building men for others, and that's what we're trying to do using the platform of football to get it done. We're not always successful, but we try. That's what we try to do.
And I know that a few weeks ago you mentioned this after one of the games where you weren't happy with 2 things. One was not getting the win. The other one was the movie that you had to watch after. And now on your way to Gainesville, what's on the docket? Are you going to give Meg 2 another shot? Or
No,
no?
I will never watch another second of Meg 2 as long as I'm upright and above the ground. But we are watching, I think, The Expendables, which I guess is good. It's got a bunch of old guys like me in it who are, trying to save the world from disaster. So that ought to be fun.
You watching the first one? The 4th one is coming out. So
I think we're watching the one in the movie theater, so whatever that is.
there we go. All
Stallone's
right.
got to be so old in that, like, I don't know, man. I hope he's not like, stumbling around, but we're going to watch that.
Coach, I have some bad news for you. He's old in all of them. So there's I have some unfortunate news for you, but Thank you so much, Coach, for taking the time to speak with me. And I understand that your team is bad company to be around, but I appreciate you being great company and giving me your time.
Sure. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is incredibly easy to use. You could bet on, really freaking anything. Spreads, player props, overs, unders. The Rams play the Bengals this Monday night. I promise you, I am right before the game starts going to go Rams, player to catch a pass on the first drive. Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell. And I'm going to do that every drive because that's what I did last week and I profited big time from doing it. So I'm going to do it again. Visit fanduel.com/locked on and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. Guys, do you ever have trouble performing? You ever out with your partner and you just feel like, you know what? Can't get the job done right now. Does it get worse when there are lots of people around? Is it especially bad with guacamole? It is, right? I think it is. I'm talking about weak chips, the ones that can't handle a scoop of guac. Well, here at Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips, we understand the pain of trying to dip with weak tortilla chips. No one wants to go soft on the guac, right? Unlike other chips, Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips are literally built to dip. They're made the old-fashioned way by cutting actual tortillas. Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips are both sturdy and delicious. Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips are now available at Publix in sea salt, lime, and nacho flavors. Find them in the deli section with the dips. Head on over to Publix, grab a bag of Zach's Mighty, and scoop that guap like the stud you are. I'm going to once again thank Coach for taking time out of his busy day to actually just sit and talk with me. And that was awesome of him to do. One thing that he talked about that I did really want to harp on here is just Billy Napier as a coach. Because I know Coach mentioned, like Billy Napier is he reminds me of young Nick Saban. He's special. The way that he's built this team. That's something where Billy Napier, when he got hired, pretty much immediately was like, hey, this is going to be a process. Like we're going to need to build this out. We're going to need to get this group built up. We're going to need to fix this roster. This program needs a bit of an overhaul. He pretty much said all that. He was very open about it. And first year, bowl eligible, blown out in the bowl game, but bowl eligible, that exceeded what should have been realistic expectations. This year, so far, 2-1. I'm not going to pretend like, guaranteed bowl eligibility or anything like that. I am going to say, so far, he's had this team show up in big moments. They've also had games where they should have shown up and they didn't. Like last year, USF, they should have blown them out of the water and they didn't. But he's had this program turned around quicker than I think most people anticipated. And a lot of that has been through what Coach Poggi mentioned, the portal and recruits playing early. Jordan Castell has played the most snaps on this defense, and Jordan Castell is a true freshman safety. You can argue that that's because there's more of a rotation at the other spots. Sure. Jordan Castell is still playing well enough as a true freshman safety for Austin Armstrong and this entire staff to just go, maybe we should keep him on the field a bit. That's huge. You look at what they did in the portal. You lost Osiris Torrance, top-rated guard according to Pro Football Focus last year in all of college. Replace him with Micah Mazuka, the top-rated returning guard in all of college football last year according to Pro Football Focus. You replaced the best with the best returning. Fantastic job. You lost Javon Dexter. You replaced him with Cam Jackson, and hell, Cam Jackson is playing more dominantly than we ever really saw Javon Dexter play in a Gators uniform. Again, I firmly believe, hey, Javon is a potential player. Like he's someone where we know he can be great. He was probably never going to put it all together at Florida. Similar to Anthony Richardson, but Cam Jackson's been playing lights out, dominated the Tennessee game. You mentioned Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz is completing 75% of his passes. If you account for drops, he would be around 80%. Graham Mertz has been playing lights out. I understand, like, I'm even the type of person to go, oh, yeah, but they're short passes a lot. It's still really hard to convert at that clip, even on short passes. It is. It's not something that happens frequently. Like, Graham Mertz's overall completion percentage right now is what you see a lot of college quarterbacks with screens. That's what we're talking about. So that's one thing where Billy Napier went into the portal, and even for players where there wasn't a ton of woohoo, we did it. They've played well. Graham Mertz did not. He was not greeted with fanfare when he committed to Florida. Cam Jackson was greeted with, "You did it at Memphis. Can you do it in the SEC?" So far, he has. He's gone into the portal and he's added players that are going to contribute early. I mean, right now, look at the cornerback room. It's Jason Marshall, who is here already. You got Jalen Kimber, who Billy Napier brought in. You've got Jakeem Jackson, who Billy Napier brought in. You've got Devin Moore, who Billy Napier brought in. All these guys are players that Billy Napier brought in. Okay? This is what Billy Napier said from the jump. He's like, hey, we're going to have to make some changes. We're going to have to make some improvements. Like, we need to get roster turnover here. We need an influx of talent. This is a talent acquisition business. And he did it quicker than I think most people recognize. I like that Coach used Nick Saban as the, I don't want to say comparison, but as the reference point for Billy Napier. Because, of course, we all know Napier has worked under Saban. He's worked under Dabo. He's worked under these. I don't like calling Dabo a great coach. He's worked under these great coaches, these great program builders. He's done that. And he's doing it now at Florida. That's one of the reasons that I think all of the hate after some of the things that have happened in Florida or happened in Gainesville were not warranted. Because Billy Napier has seen elite programs operate at an elite level. Yes, Bama looks like they're down this year. Yes, Clemson looks like they're down this year. Billy Napier still saw those programs at or near their peaks. That's one of the things that I appreciate Coach bringing up, where it's not me as, and I know there are quite a few Florida fans who think I'm too optimistic. It's not me saying, oh, Billy Napier, he has Nick Saban tendencies. No, this is another coach, another FBS coach saying, hey, Billy Napier's special. He's got Nick Saban. He reminds me of a young Nick Saban. Brother, if you're not paying attention yet, if you're not bought in yet, buy in, because now is the time to do that. So thank you again to Coach Poggi for taking the time to talk with us and give us his time of day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators. So thank you for taking time to listen and join in here. But thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow post game. We're still going live after the game. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. And I will see you all tomorrow.